Hi guys, thanks for joining us again this week for ATN Talk here at Blab. If you're watching this anywhere else, if you've seen it on YouTube or embedded into a blog post, please do consider coming to join us. It is at 12:30, just after lunch, Australian Sydney, Australia time. You can come in and join us. All you need is a Twitter handle, and you can come to blab.im/ATW networking, and you can join the conversation. Blab's a conversational platform with 4 video seats and a chat integration, so you can come join the conversation and ask your questions. Every week, myself and the lovely Dawn Carter jump in and have a discussion around the hashtag ATN Talk. Basically, it's just talking around the digital media space, community building, and how you can better engage with communities using digital media. Today's show is slightly different. It's quite a short show this week. I'm actually coming to you from a coffee shop today, down near my local beach, because I was between locations and this was the closest spot I could get to get sat down somewhere decently lit and with a decent Wi-Fi connection, which props to Virgin Mobile for saving the day once again. So yeah, we're going to have a quick chat around that. But as always, we have a little check-in with everyone who's here. Today we've got Jay Garrett in a seat as well. Always showing lots of support and very, very active in the community here on Blab and Periscope as well. So I'm going to let these guys let us know. We're going to kick off with, let us know how your week's been and if there's any kind of things you're celebrating this week, any big or little wins I'd love to hear about. So I guess we should kick to Jay first, being that we've got a guest in the seat. So let's let Jay go first as a guest. How's your week been?
Oh, I tell you, it's actually been pretty good, Tristan. The beginning of last week kicked off with my birthday, and it kind of extended a whole birthday week. All week long, I had people on Blab and on Periscope and on Twitter and Facebook wishing me happy birthday. By the end of the week, it got to be like, okay, it's time to move on. We've had enough birthday. It's like we're rubbing it in the ground. But I've been actually, you know, Tristan, we've talked a little bit, and I'll go ahead and share with everybody else. Been really excited about your encouragement on different ways to use Snapchat. And Tristan and I have, and Chocolate Johnny, the three of us have been kind of Snapchatting back and forth. And it's really, really been kind of fun. Hey, Ricky, it's nice to see you, buddy. But it's been kind of fun because I'm not in a product space. I'm in a service space, being an attorney and a mortgage broker. And so in my mind, initially, I don't think of something like Instagram or Snapchat, something that's picture-based, as being a utility that I can use. However, I've watched Tristan, I've watched Chocolate Johnny, I've watched several other people that have used Snapchat and in fact, Instagram as well, in a different way to just show a personal brand, not show a product brand, but just show a personal brand. And getting to know, like Tristan, getting to know his eating habits he doesn't share the bad stuff, but he shows all the good stuff. So it's encouraging when he does that. So it's kind of cool. I've enjoyed that. So it's been a good week as far as expanding my horizons in that area.
Awesome. I just wanted to say this before Dawn gives us her little update for the week is, so Jay reached out to me this week, and it's all the little bits. This is the sense of community. It's the little bits, the times when someone sends you a snap or a tweet or a private message, just to let you know that they appreciate it. Obviously, during the time a show's going on, obviously everybody's there and very actively saying thank you and things. But I've received a couple of messages from Jay recently that really, really hit home. And Jay, if you're not following him on Snapchat, does a lot of running on Snapchat, with and without his top on, depending if Johnny's watching. And one of the things is, I said to him, it's good to see you're doing all of that. And he actually said that because I'm only showcasing the good food that I'm eating is actually inspired to him to be conscious about his health and his body. And it's not even like it was something that happened kind of by coincidence, in the fact that I just do that because I'm from a chef background, and that's why that's one of my primary things. I know hopefully Blake Croft will drop in, who's a big Snapchatter as well. His definition of me when he's describing me is you get to see me walking, you get to see me slow closing doors and preparing food. That's the three things that I'm kind of known for on Snapchat. I obviously do use it as a promotional tool to bring people into the broadcasts that I do as well. But those are the kind of the things. So it was really nice to hear from Jay that kind of inspired him this week. So that's a little win from my side.
Sure, I will. Yeah, so the week has been good. We've been celebrating the holidays starting off here, and just really very similar to you, Jay, with experimenting. Sometimes I think we get stuck in, the tools we use, and then something comes along like Blab, and then you dive in and make all your mistakes and get familiar with it. But I've been really enjoying the learning. I think I'm very grateful for the folks that teach me by their example, like Tristan. Got to jump in and watch a replay of Scope Pass Sunday. Little too early here at 6 a.m. on Sundays. So I just really grateful for the folks who are generous with the tools. And so I'm loving trying out some of these things. I'm still having issues with Snapchat because my daughter, who's 17, is just mortified that I'm trying it. And when I need some explanation of some of the things, I get the eye rolling and all the things that I don't get from my Blab friends. So it's great. But I do appreciate the opportunity to get that glimpse into it's kind of rounds out people's personalities, and I think that's been kind of neat to give another aspect. And again, it's still about brand building because you're giving people that kind of a little bit of a 360 view of wow, okay, so they're they actually have a life. They're not always talking about marketing or talking about hashtags and event amplification or whatever. So yeah, it was good. That's good. So Nikki Prime is asking questions about whose community. So I think that's a fair question because we usually talk about community each week. And, really from my perspective, I'm Dawn Carter. I'm the marketing director for TWUBS, which is a hashtag registry, been around about 6 years. And so when I'm talking about communities, it's typically around hashtags that someone has taken the leadership to conduct a virtual water cooler each week in the form of a Twitter chat. And so as people have been growing those communities, a lot of them have been around 2, 3, 4 years. And so it's been neat from my perspective to kind of see different industries, different professionals, folks that do it for their heart passion, others do it for their job, authors, you name it. But it's a real diverse crowd of folks who are building communities around a topic. Yeah.
I know there's obviously the conversation here about community and using hashtags and things like that. Actually, I'm just going to do my quick check-in for my little thing before we launch into that fully. I've still got 100% success rate from Periscope for conversion. So people who come to me from a Periscope who connect afterwards, I say, I always say, if you want to find out more about what I do and you want to engage with me, come and reach out to me through Twitter or Facebook, whichever is your favorite. And I've still got 100% conversion from everyone who's come through, converting to some level of service. And I picked up another one this morning. So that's my little victory for the week. And we talk a lot about celebrating each other's little wins. And so for me, that's it, is just keeping the ball rolling with that. I did just dropped a link on the side here on Blab. And if you're watching on the replay, it'll be down below the video. The link we've just launched a Snapchat and Periscope training course. It's a 3-hour live workshop in Sydney that we're doing, but actually it's a full online course as well. So it's a full online video training course. So everyone who attends live will obviously still be able to use the online service. But we had so much demand for it from people all around the world that we basically had to move it and create the online course as well. A lot quicker than we planned to. So that was a little win there. So jumping onto the topic of hashtags, obviously everybody, if you're well versed in Twitter, which is a passion of Dawn's to talk about hashtags, so I'll let her chime in around that a little bit more. But I'm a big advocate for the use of the hashtags for curating your conversation around your brand. So you can see, like, this show is branded ATN Talk. So we follow that hashtag online and we can track the conversation around it during the week. All the different shows that I do have different hashtags, so I can keep an eye on the conversation. It's about identifying and finding your own unique hashtag. This week I had to help someone. In fact, some of you may know her. Sweet Danny is looking to find a hashtag for her brand. Unfortunately, her company is called Sweet Cheeks. And as you can imagine, a lot of people are already using Sweet Cheeks as an endearing term and hashtag on the socials. So we did a bit of brainstorming, and it took all of about 7 minutes, I think. And we came up with a hashtag and tested it across the platforms that she wants to use, which is Instagram and Twitter. And Twitter had 3 posts, none of which were within the last 3 years. And Instagram had about 19 photos, again, not recent, a good few months back. So she's decided she's going to adopt that now. And what she's using it for is to get her community when she sends out products, because she does cookies and cakes. So get people in the same way. If you've ever seen Frank's Bod, so Frank's Body products, they get the users to submit photos of, using the face scrubs and things like that. She's doing the same, but like with the cookies and cakes and, the celebrations around, because obviously those are the types of products that are generally for an occasion. So to upload those photos and use the hashtag so she can see the celebrations when the stuff gets there, because that's a really good way to celebrate those little wins as well. So it's important to identify a unique hashtag, and quite often it can be putting 2 words together and things like that makes it more unique than just birthday or things like that. You want to narrow it down. Another one for you is if you're doing any live streaming and things, bear in mind any platform that you're using that then may be shared back to things like Twitter, you can use a hashtag for. So if you look at all of our scopes, we're actually doing a project called Scope Oz at the moment for Australia, where everyone's broadcasts have Scope Oz in. So basically when they go live on Periscope and it posts to Twitter, it means you can hit that hashtag and see all of the broadcasts that are happening in one place. And there's obviously a whole load of stuff going on behind that. So I'll drop a link underneath for you guys to check it out. But Dawn, you're much more versed than me in the hashtag sphere and how to watch and monitor those hashtags and kind of some tools and stuff, because obviously people are interested in how to grow a community using them. And obviously that's a lot down to the analytics side. So obviously I'd love you to chime in a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. So the, hashtags have been around for a few years. I'll say maybe 6 years. 2009 is when they really started taking off. And that's when people were starting to discover hashtags as a source of news, primarily to search topics of, some news event that happened. And people discovered that you could actually find out updates from people who were their eyewitnesses, or you could find out information before some of the news outlets actually did. So that's when it was really taking root. So one of the things that has been of particular interest for me is because my company produces tweet-to-screen software, so like a ticker that goes across the bottom and has social shares that run along the bottom. Our company was one of the first ones to do that, and about 4 or 5 years. I don't want to turn this into a commercial for Twubs, but what is neat and what has been interesting is to see that when events have a hashtag and people are using that user-generated content, that the social sharing goes up, and event producers will call that amplifying. So the idea of building a community, I mean, there's a couple interesting dynamics that I've noticed. And, Jay or Tristan, have you ever been to a conference where they had a hashtag that they used for that conference, and then, you maybe tweeted a couple things out about that, and were you able to connect with other attendees at that conference because of that?
Yeah, so actually, this year, I was actually lucky enough, because of a hashtag, to get a free ticket to an event. So there was an event coming up called Sid Start in Sydney, which was tech startups. And I went in to, just get involved in the conversation before it went live at the weekend. And I went down and I got about 10 posts in. I was just kind of looking to see if there was anyone worth connecting with. And someone had posted saying they couldn't make it and they had a ticket for the 2-day event. Did anyone want it? So obviously I tweeted and got it. But what I did was so this is another way that hashtags can be useful, is when there's an event and people are doing it, not only monitoring your own hashtags, but watching hashtags of events that are going on as a good place to connect with people. So this conference was going on, and actually what I did was I set up some monitoring tools that basically watched for anyone who was, so I specifically wanted people I could meet in person in Sydney. So what I did was I set up an analytics tool that basically watched for the hashtag within a geofence. So I geofenced, because it was at the town hall, I geofenced the town hall and said anyone who tweets from within this, and like give or take, you know, a little bit of pavement outside when they're out on their cigarette breaks and stuff, it allowed me basically to curate all of that into like a spreadsheet. So I put that through to Google Sheets, and my focus wasn't on doing it because it was a 2-day event. My focus was fully on the end of the first day. I came home and I went meticulously through that to find the top kind of 10 people that were worth interacting with the next day, so that you can then go and connect with them there. So speaking of cool kids, I see Johnny's in the house. If you want to jump in and join the conversation, please do feel free. So yeah, this is a whole aspect of community. There's a bit of heckling going on here from Johnny, and the fact that I speak fast. So I'm actually super keen to get a blab going with myself and Brian Fanzo, and I want someone to do a breath counter on it to see which of us breathes more, because we both speak very, very fast, and I think that would be quite an awesome thing to watch for during that. And I think, like, imagine how much content you'd be getting out in the space of a half-hour show, bearing in mind the speed at which we both speak. So
you'd have to watch the replay for sure.
Yeah, and put it in slow-mo, like, to do the counts. So
yeah, so who's hosting? Yeah, it's a little chaotic. Yes, it's Tristan. It is. But we're talking about using hashtags to connect with other event attendees. And what's interesting is an event organizer, like one of the clients that used our tweet to screen product, actually after the event was done, people were so excited about it. I want to say it might have been Content Marketing Institute, but the event was so fabulous, the interaction between the attendees, that they actually started a Twitter chat after the event. And the Twitter chat's been going for a couple of years. I thought that's a great example of where you had, phenomenal connections with either like-minded or folks, sometimes you can just get this conference high, for all the extroverts, who are like connecting and they're firing on all pistons because you're talking about a topic that either you're passionate about or you feel like you're the lone voice, and all of a sudden you go to a conference and now you can connect up with, fellow geeks or whatever your interest is. And then to be able to keep that momentum on a weekly basis by meeting once a week and having a chat around it. I thought that was a great and natural, very organic way that one organization grew a community out of it. I thought that was neat. Oh, go ahead.
It's a good way to connect into existing communities as well. Dawn and I, where we've done a rebuild of the website, I need to put the page back up, but we're actually putting together a whole Google Calendar that will basically have all the times. And the reason we put it into a Google Calendar is if you basically download any of the things from Google Calendar to your own calendar, it changes the time zone for you, so you don't need to change anything. So we were putting all the Twitter chats and things that we were finding there, and we've got another one that we're creating for Blab. So all the shows that we think are noteworthy and that people might want to go and get actively involved in. Basically, the hashtag is allowing people to go and find an existing community. Like Dawn says, and this phrase comes out every week, is that around the digital water cooler. So that hashtag is bringing people together to have that conversation around a specific topic. So it gives you an opportunity to connect into existing communities that are already discussing a certain topic. So if you're into, tech news, or if you're into wearables and things like that, you can find conversations that are going on around those things, even down to, it might not be a regular chat, but if you went and search for the hashtag wearables, you might then find that loads of people are talking about it all the time, and there is no curated conversation for it. So maybe there's an opportunity there to bring those people together and connect with them if it's something that you're passionate about. So you can reach out and find people by hashtag, and that's a good way to create a new thing. Obviously, that would give you a leg up because they're already showing an interest in that topic, and that would allow you then to create that community.
Tristan, I want to ask you something. You talked a few minutes ago about the geotag, and I thought that was really a unique way to find people at a particular conference and draw in a circle, getting those people that were tweeting. And I noticed another time when you shared that with the community, somebody came in and they kind of chimed and they said, oh, well, you're not going to get everybody that's talking about that topic or that hashtag if you're putting a geographical limit on them. And my thought, and I don't know if it got conveyed at that time, but I thought that we'd talk about it right now. My thought is, you don't really care about the people that aren't at the conference. Oh, he's got to refresh. So Don, we'll kind of refresh this comment to him. But one of the things is, you're going to miss some people that are outside that geofence that may be talking about whatever hashtag that you've got, that you're inquiring about. But it's not about capturing everybody. It's about capturing the audience that you want to capture. And like Tristan was saying, when he put that geofence, he was trying to capture the people that were actually there at that conference where he could meet them in real life. So don't think, yes, you're limiting. Sometimes limiting your search or your connectivity is exactly what you want to do. Don't get in the mindset that you're trying to capture everybody that's talking about hashtag whatever. You're trying to capture a targeted audience because you don't connect to millions. You don't sell to millions. You connect one-on-one and you sell one-on-one, maybe a million times, but you sell one-on-one.
That's a great point.
So it's just, when somebody came on and kind of poo-pooed on the idea, I was like, well, no, that's fine. Because Tristan wasn't trying to capture the people that were talking about that hashtag in other areas. What he wanted to do was find the people at the conference so then he could walk up to them and say, hi, I'm Tristan. You were just talking about this, and I want to talk to you about this. How do you think this would work? Or what do you think about that?
I love it because, you think about it, the internet is global, it's worldwide. Well, there's some applications of wanting to connect that aren't global. I mean, there's sometimes when you physically, like you said, you're at a conference, you want to connect. Another tool, I'm going to drop this link in. This is another, because we're talking about geographic accessibility to people that you've met online. If, for instance, I'm flying into a city and I've got a layover and I've had conversations. Again, this is not random. This is not, ridiculous with some, meeting up with some stalker, but these are people that I've had conversations or I've met on Blab and we've had some level of connection already. I can go into Tweeps Map, put in my Twitter profile and then zoom in by city. So for instance, if I'm going to be in Dallas for a layover for 6 hours, I can go in and find out, well, who are the followers I've already engaged with or who are following me that I could send something out. So this is not necessarily around a hashtag. This is just around the followers. But imagine if I am at a conference. Wouldn't that be neat to know, hey, I already have some Twitter followers that are attending the same conference that I am.
That would be phenomenal.
So wouldn't that be nice to know? Absolutely. And so the Tweeps Map, I really, really enjoy this. I'm very, very big on if you can grab a beer with someone or grab a coffee, it takes that relationship, because Jay, you hit it right on the head. I mean, to be able to say, whatever it is that, whether it's a service you're selling or whether it's your own brand you are trying to convey, it's done best in person. If you don't have that opportunity, then live stream is the next best. Right. But so some of those opportunities, especially at a conference, I mean, could you imagine how nice it would be to be able to connect up? So Tristan, question for you. So what are you using when you said you were doing the geofencing? What software are you using to do that? Or app or site?
So it's obviously not seamless. Can you guys hear me okay? So I had to jump over to my mobile. My computer decided it was just going to glitch out on me. It's obviously not seamless. We were using if this then that, and we were running a recipe that took if this then that would search within a geolocation for a specific hashtag.
So I've used if this then that to create a Twitter list from an event that I was not able to attend, but I was very interested in connecting up with the other attendees. So, and for those of you who are not familiar with what if this then that is, just a simple automation. It's a website. They have these little things called recipes, and they're just little automation, simple tasks. So it's not overwhelming. You don't have to have a programmer. You literally just say, I would like you to automate a specific task. And again, this isn't automating something like, spamming or DMing people or things like that. This is basically saying, hey, these people attended an event, they tweeted out using this hashtag, and I would like to put them into a list. And of course, then you go back over with your brain and actually look at it, because there may be people that are hijacking that event's hashtag, and you want to pull those guys out. But what that does is that then you can take that list into a tool like TweetDeck, and then you can engage with just the people that you were, that were interested in that topic of that conference, because they've self-selected by spending the money to go to that conference. You already know, they are passionate, or they are interested within this specific topic.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, I missed what Jay said because I dropped out while he was talking about the geofencing and missing people. But for me, it was specific that I wanted people who were live at the event, because I wanted to go and build that real connection with them, have a coffee with them. That's, for me, was what I was using it for. I could actually have run a second thing that basically would have done the whole lot, and then just compared the two lists, and it would have told me who was tweeting about it from outside and who was tweeting from inside, which would have been quite an interesting comparison. But obviously, very short notice, I threw up those things literally just as I was kind of getting ready to go out. So that when I came
and the
back,
point that I was making while you were gone, Tristan, was that although some people say that you'll miss people outside the geofence, the purpose was very pointed in what you were using it for. You were trying to meet people in real life that were physically at the conference, that were also tweeting about the conference. So, that guys, and what I was saying is, it's not always important to capture everybody that's talking about a particular topic. Sometimes you want a very pointed audience, and to locate that pointed audience, because that they're interested in the same topic right then and there.
Yeah, and I mean, this is while we're talking about this, I'm going to talk a little bit on the whole Snapchat thing. I've done a couple of periscopes around this before, because again, with everything, it's about understanding the tool and what you're trying to achieve with it. And one of the things that you need to consider is with that, with Snapchat, if you're a local business that requires people coming in, there's not much point in having 10,000 people following your Snapchat account if none of them can physically come to your shop. Great, it's a good vanity metric for you, but
yeah, he's having some connectivity issues.
It's because he has Han Solo behind him with a phaser.
It's in Australia. Maybe that's what this is. It's the Force going on around me.
The Force is not with you.
What I was saying was I've lost my point now. So for me, I wanted to connect with all those people. But within Snapchat, what you need to consider is, do those people need to be able to come to your location? If they do, then you need to consider putting your snap code online for a local business that needs a hyper local audience is a bad move, because you're going to get loads of people and have no idea, and therefore you're investing all this time into keeping those people engaged because you think you have a big audience, but they're not local. So what you need to consider is a local business like that might not. However, someone like Johnny, who's got a shop where he does e-commerce, so he ships chocolate. So obviously for that, it's different. It doesn't matter where the people are because there's an e-commerce solution. So obviously it's slightly different uses for different people. And people who are service industry and things like that, like me, you'll see I put my, throw my snap code up all over the place. And, I'm, fairly frivolous with where I post it. And I want as many people to see it and connect, because you don't know who's going to see it and who potentially could be someone who comes through. In fact, there's I've already closed a deal on social media based around Snapchat, and I actually communicate with the client via Snapchat. So that's a kind of a usage example. Is I showcased how it could be used for a business, and in 5 minutes he went from not thinking, I can't really see how you use it to business, to I can't not have it in my business as part of the strategy. And obviously from that, then it was interesting because I came in to see him a week later, and he said, did you see, over the next 3 days, a block on my Snapchat, put loads of stuff out. I said, yeah. And on the fourth day, it all dropped back again, because again, it was to do with managing that. People who get involved get very excited about new platforms and that, but they need to have a very clear strategy in how they're using the platform and to allow that to be part of it, which is why I always talk around putting social at the core of your business, making it part of the processes. So obviously I'm sat in a coffee shop, so it's a really good example, is using changing the process. So I usually use like a barista as an example. I'm going to change it and use a chef as an example this time. The chef's making loads of meals all day, every day. If you have a device that's available to them to use, or even like they use their own and then they can, you know, email them or upload them in a Dropbox, is part of the process would be, you know, serve the stuff, you know, dress it and serve it would be the normal process that it is now. But when you put social at the core, it becomes plate the food, dress it, position it on the thing, take a photo, now serve it. So you're creating content all the time. You think how many dishes go out across a hot plate in a restaurant, or how many coffees a barista does, and every single coffee will have different design patterns and things on the top because they do coffee art, right? So making that part of the process means that you've already got the content when you come back to using it and going, what do we put up? Because people often saying to me, what content do we put up? It's like, there's so much content around you all day. Your whole business is making content nonstop all day, every day. You're just not capturing it. So you need to change the processes.
I think one of the things that help people think differently is look at either your industry, your life, whatever it is that you produce through visitor eyes. Because when you've got someone who's visiting from out of town, all of a sudden the things that you just normally just go by, all of a sudden become significant. And if you can think of, wow, you know, the stuff that I produce, the coffee art that I'm generating throughout the day, or the amazing, or, you know, whatever it is that you're producing, that is a shareable nugget. And again, that whole purpose is, how am I equipping my advocates, people who love my product, my service, how am I equipping them to tell my story well, to tell my story better? And so that's all. I mean, people would think, why would you be taking pictures? Really, all it is just equipping your advocates to help share your story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the other thing you could do, like I gave Frank's Bods as an example. That's a brilliant example of a community. If you haven't already gone and checked them out, go and check out. I think it's Frank Body is the actual company name. But you find them, I think they're Frank's Bod on, if you search for that, or Frank's _bod, I'll grab a link and I'll post it below the video and in the chat in a minute. Basically, they make a coffee body scrub, and then they put it out and they get people. So what they're doing is they're curating content rather than creating content, because they're getting people who use it to provide social proof that it's a good product, and also to create the content for them that they then use on social. You know, people want that 15 minutes of fame, and the company's going, you create the content, we'll put it on our platform. So people are sending in these pictures. So they're just sat there going, great, we've got like hundreds of pictures here. We don't have to do anything. They obviously they're very proactive in creating their own stuff as well, but they really don't need to do as much of that, because they've done a good job of creating a brand that people love and want to share. And it's about making it easy. And that's where the hashtag side comes in. Like you're saying, conferences, putting a hashtag and making it visible. I went to the National Achievers Congress was a really good example. They used the hashtag, it was NAC15 for the National Achievers Congress here. And they'd advertised it. It was on all the flyers. It was everywhere. It was like, you know, tweet your pictures. Make sure you could put the hashtag, use them, put them, whatever the platform, use the hashtag, right? And then as you walked into the venue, there was a massive sign that said, no photography allowed. And they hadn't covered the sign. So then you've got a conflicting message, and people will always err on the side of caution. So when you looked at the hashtag, there were very few photos because the venue had a sign up that said not to do it. And people tend to err on the side of caution because they don't, you know, they paid a lot of money for a ticket. They don't want to be thrown out. So then they err on the side of caution to not have that happen. And so make it clear, even if there's signs up, get someone to announce that you're encouraging that and that it's okay because it's your event. You need to make it crystal clear to people, and make it, the easier you make it for people to share, the more they're going to like contribute towards that.
I think one of the elements that you hit on in terms of user-generated content around a hashtag is, remember we were talking about using hashtags to create community or to foster community. Again, when you are contributing a photograph of an event or using that hashtag, you feel like this is ours. This is, again, it's not, this is your event and I'm, you know, sending some information. This is our event. And again, there's some kind of like, there's a mental or emotional, say, connection to that ownership. That's when, you know, a tribe has like taken root, when the tribe owns that experience and says, you know what, we are contributing to this and this is fun. I am part of the, you know, what makes the experience fun. And so I think that element of allowing people instead of saying, you will accept my content and that is all, like that's not it. It's, here's the thing. I know you guys love this. Let's celebrate this together.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to drop a really, that's right, a really good example of that type of thing is when I was in the UK before I came to Australia, we built a brand that basically it started with an idea, and then it rolled from an idea to 13 people kind of curating that and making that happen. And then what actually happened was we ended up with 40 members of staff, and we didn't use a hashtag. What actually happened was all the staff started talking online because we built a culture and a team with they were managers, but they were leaders rather than bosses. And so we created this community feel, whether you call it a tribe, a community, whatever label you want to put on it, but it was all about that kind of team building. And they, as a collective, without any input from us, because the brand was All Things, so that we moved from All Things Bournemouth to All Things Where, and they all started sending each other messages and using the hashtag Team ATW, because they were part of a team and the brand was ATW. So they created this hashtag. And so they started tweeting to each other and messaging, and every time they shared, they'd put it up. And so we were like, wow, there's like 40 people sharing this hashtag, right? And so we went on and we embraced that because they'd embraced it so wholeheartedly. What we did was we took that hashtag and we put it on their uniforms and we made a feature of it because they'd created it. And so we empowered them to carry on using it and to spread the word about it. We put the hashtag on the backs of their jackets that they wore for work as a kind of it was kind of a stamp of honor that they'd created it and that they owned it. And that basically it's all about that community and that team aspect is the reason that we could without a budget get an audience of 3 million people online, which we did in like 9 months because of the team and because of that community pulling everybody together with a common purpose. And that's why they got so into it and so behind that, because they created it.
Jay, I'd be interested to find out, have you ever been a part of either a conference or an event or any tribe that was able to connect over a hashtag? Have you ever experienced anything like that?
Just this last summer, I was involved in a real estate conference. It was more of a sales conference where the conference people were working on producing things from, website design and different products focused on realtors. So the realtors were the particular, I guess, the audience that they were trying to sell to. And I was attending just to meet realtors, but they did have a hashtag that kind of gathered everybody together around. And so as long as you were there that weekend, well, let's see, it's during the week, it's a 2-day conference. But as long as you were there, I mean, they were basically tweeting out all of their announcements and stuff using that hashtag. And it was pretty interesting because then you were able to connect with everybody that was, retweeting the hashtag or sharing or whatever. So, that's the only one that I've been in, recently. I haven't attended a lot of conferences. In my previous life, I was a conference regular, but in that previous life, I did not use social media very much at all.
Yeah, I think it's there's a lot to be said around educating people to use them and get involved, because a good example was we had Jana Steele. Actually, she joined a blab with us the other day, and she was at a conference with a whole load of people who were the whole room were essentially responsible for the social media of their companies. And someone obviously said, how are you, like, what social medias are you using? And they did the whole, traditional thing, like, are you using social media? Everyone's hands went up, and they went, keep your hands up if you're using Facebook. Yep, everyone's hands up. Twitter. Yep, everyone's hands up. And they got down and they went through and they went Snapchat, and everyone's hands except for 10 people in the room dropped. So as an emerging part of a community that's adopting that technology, and you've got that going on. And then they said, and now who's using Periscope? Because obviously they're looking.
We're losing you, Tristan. That's funny. So
Forward thinking, and one person.
Chris said that exact same phenomenon happened, except Twitter. When all the hands went up, and then when they said Twitter, all hands went down except his, like the lone Twitterer.
Yeah, I was at a meetup, and kind of the same thing. There was probably 100 people in the room, and I just asked the same poll because I was holding my phone up and I was periscoping, and it was like a door prize giveaway where people were telling a little bit about their company. I was talking about what I did, and I had a door prize to give away. So I had Periscope, and I said, guys, I'm periscoping this to basically the entire Periscope and Twitter world. There's no telling how many people are watching this. And I said, well, in fact, right now there's 27. Okay. And then it went up to like 50. But I asked them, I said, okay, who all's using Facebook? And same exact deal. But there was only one person in the room of 100 real estate personnel, including vendors, not just realtors, but vendors as well. There was only one other person in the room that knew about Periscope. And of course, when I got finished talking, they ran up to me. They were like, I've got to connect with you because nobody knows Periscope, and I want to know somebody else. You obviously know a lot of what you're doing.
Yeah. I think it's interesting as well, like touching on realtors, because we had we're in a rented property, and we had our house inspection this week, and they checked, and then as he was leaving, he was just like, I'll have a quick look in the garage, because obviously we're an upstairs apartment. And while we were doing that, I just said to him, because he had this really cool app for taking photos of the property and putting them in so that they're all tracked and in the files. I said to him, do you use Periscope at all? He's like, oh no. So obviously took the phone out, launched it, and I literally launched the broadcast that just said outside the house or something. So it was completely not an interesting scope. And he just saw all these people jumping in, and he was like, instantly like that, he could see the power of how he could access these people. Obviously, it took a bit of explaining how you might use it for, showing people around a house, or even because if you did that show round, that's then some evergreen content until that property goes that can go on the website. So other people could watch that video as a replay if they were to download it and repurpose it. And suddenly you could see his brain was ticking, and he's like, yeah, cool, make sure you come in and see me next week. So just that 2-minute conversation and introduction to a new platform, because it's not something there's no reason for you to have heard of it. If people don't necessarily, if they're not in that social space, they might not have heard of this. And I noticed a comment in there that I laughed about, that if they'd asked about Blab, how many hands do you think would have been up in the room? Probably the same one as the person who's on Periscope and Snapchat, right?
Maybe.
So it's about educating those people into those platforms. And obviously, people like myself who work in the social space, it's our job to go out and actively do that. And I feel like I'm in a good position, specifically within the hospitality industry, because I have a lot of experience in that industry to know the kind of mindset of how they think within that marketing sphere. Because the more you know about that, the easier it is to go in and talk their language, which again, when you're community building, you need to talk to people in their own language. And it's as simple as coming in and going, I gave an example of spare capacity in a restaurant. If I was to go in and say, oh, I've got this spare capacity program that you could be interested, or I could just walk in and go, do you want those 2 seats budget? Because you know that attention to get them engaged and to talk to them. So yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting time, because there's so many platforms and things that cross promoting on different platforms is a really important part of engaging your community as well. But also speaking not only in their voice, but in the voice of how the platform works as well. How you talk to people through LinkedIn would be very different to how you talk to people on Twitter.
Oh,
Tristan,
I think we lost you again, Tristan.
I do. We keep losing. We lose our Australian friend.
Hey, Dawn, while he's coming back in, I know that we're running kind of towards the end of the show. One of the things that, I mean, obviously there's some value. We know there's value in the hashtags, but how would you take it to the next step? I mean, first you've got to identify a hashtag, but then what would you do with the hashtag? Okay, say we for example, since I'm in the real estate business, say that I've discovered a hashtag. Oh, I know what. Here's an idea. So I've been hashtagging and periscoping different eateries around Austin, Texas. Very limited, very defined. And my hashtag is inside Austin, Texas. So I'm giving people, they can, if they want to find out, I haven't promoted it a lot because I'm building Periscope content there. But every time I Periscope at an eatery in Austin, Texas, I'm using the hashtag inside Austin, Texas. If I go to a live music venue in Austin, I'm using the hashtag inside Austin, Texas. Okay, so once I've established that hashtag, now tell me, what would you tell people to do with it once you have that?
Well, I think that's a great question, Jay. And really, if the purpose is, for instance, if it's to build prospecting lists for you, I mean, if, for instance, you were in the real estate, field and it's, I want to showcase my town, I want to, highlight some of the good things, then creating some kind of a call to action with that. And I'm sure Tristan will echo this, but having some type of call to action where you're basically, letting people know, about what that hashtag is. And, if, for instance, you start finding other people that are posting with it, that's something that I've noticed even here within Riverside, California. We have a hashtag called I Love Riverside. But it's that same idea of where you've got people that are starting to generate content. So around that hashtag, remember we just talked about people connecting around a conference. Well, the other people who want to follow inside Austin might be connecting to each other. I would host a little get together, say, hey, let's get together at the, I'm a real big, I love happy hours because the food is cheap. So I'm just basically a very cheap person. So, we've got a thing here called Taco Tuesdays, where, we can go up to the local Thai restaurant and say, hey, anyone who has, posted on inside Austin, Texas, invite them. And to me, as a marketer, because I come from the corporate marketing side, the investment of picking up everyone's Taco Tuesday is going to be a much better investment than paying for a Yellow Pages ad. I have a friend who runs a hair salon in a local town here, and she was being charged, maybe $2,000 a year to run some kind of digital nonsense in some, obsolete directory that she gets no traction from. Could you imagine, a fraction of that of, picking up? I mean, that's just, again, I use hashtags to identify people that I can be hospitable to, because hospitality creates, solidifies relationships. And so that, to me, that would be one natural way.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a question down there in the chat about, like, how do you quantify a hashtag? Obviously, that all comes down to the analytics and, how much conversation is going on around that? What's the reach of that? Like, all of those different aspects you need to look at. How regularly are people using it? Is all the content relevant to that hashtag? So obviously, you need to monitor, if people are starting to jump on and jack the hashtag. So you need to look at a whole load of analytics. So you need to run analytics on any hashtags that you're using. So you need to do a lot of monitoring and a lot of, this comes down to social listening and making sure that across platforms. And also, if you use that hashtag on Twitter, you need to be listening on other platforms. Because if people start using a hashtag, in your mind, it's a Twitter thing. But in their mind, it's a thing about that topic. So they might then adopt it and post pictures to Instagram, like here, blab. I wouldn't be surprised pictures of various blabs going on Instagram and putting. So especially with the videos and animations coming out now. Am I still here?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You're going in and out.
This internet is so bad in Australia. I'm going to try jumping back on the computer.
Okay.
But yeah, Paul's asking such good questions. I mean, really, I think, one of the things I know, I just happen to know Paul's been starting up Rugby Chat, and that's been, and I don't know if you have, your internet is bad in New Zealand, if you want to hop on and let us know how that's going. But really, whether you've set up a landing page or a TWUB page, I mean, really to go into the Google Analytics or the KISS metrics and say, hey, because of this activity, this is how many views or hits we've had on this. So that's really, that is whether your metric is, time on page or just views. Really, it's those are the things that are you can actually say these people were here, and because of some kind of marketing event that I instigated, this is the result. So that's Blab was having issues where people couldn't get on, but they fixed it. Anyway, so that's, but great question. I mean, that is, having something that you can track. I mean, because if you're not tracking, I mean, rather than just the retweets or the velocity of how many people around the globe saw that. I mean, we've been talking a lot about, hyper local, usages of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a really good, chat this week, and lots of great interaction. Thanks a lot, everybody, for coming in and joining in the conversation. I'm aware that obviously, apologies. There is this chat happens every week. As long as you're fine for it, next week is going to be the last week, Dawn, for this year. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do next week, and then we're going to come back in probably the middle of January. So we'll be scheduling that up shortly. So next week we'll be here at the same time over on Blab. So anyone who's watching anywhere else, you can join us for the last week, which will be in Australia. It'll be on the 22nd of December over here, and on 21st over in the States. You can join us. It's blab.im/ATW networking. If you want to come and join us, come in, join the chat. If you want to join us via Twitter, you can just use the hashtag ATN Talk and tweet there anytime during the week. And we look through that hashtag before we go live on the show. And when I've got a better connection, I normally have another tab open for Twitter as well that I can watch the hashtag on. So thanks a lot, guys, everybody who's been here. Thanks, Jay, for jumping in. Awesome to have you on the show this week. Dawn, as always a pleasure to co-host with you on the ATN Talk show. And for all the great questions, for everyone who's been here and for everyone who's also watched on the replay, we appreciate all of you coming in. And we'll catch you at the same time again next week.